Big Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio with the return of Brown Dwarf. And first off, before we get into anything with him, I want to say thanks everybody for being such valued and wonderful viewers and listeners. If you haven't already subbed the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you have friends that you think would like it, share it with them. If you have enemies that you're sure would hate it, share it with them. And and I really appreciate all the help and everything. I'd also like to remind everybody, it's the time of the year for the holiday season. Trying to remember single people and poor people that may not have the capacity to have as much holiday cheer as you, and try and spread it around. Help them if you get the chance. That's the true spirit of the Christmas season. And let's see, any other notes that I need to give out or anything? Oh, yeah, that's right. I have a show on Thursday night on my channel now. Same time slot as this one. It's a repeat of the cryptid report that I do every Tuesday night on the Spaced Out Radio Show with Dave Scott, which he lets me share over to my channel. So all you guys that can't stay up until the middle of the friggin' night Pacific time to see it, you can now watch it on my channel after the fact. And just to let you know, there's actually like 3 versions of this show. There's the radio version, which has commercials in it. There's the YouTube version that when the commercials are playing, we're actually backstage talking, so you get additional content there. And then there's my version where whatever it is we're talking about, I might just be playing the audio files showing pictures or video that we were referencing that isn't on Dave's show. So they're all going to be a little bit different. So make sure to check it out. And with that gigantic plug and everything, again, welcome back to the show, Brown Dwarf. Great to have you back again, man.
Thank you, Duke. I appreciate the invite, and I'm honored and excited to be back. And I know we'll be talking some different topics tonight, but we'll still be able to sprinkle on some of the usual ingredients, talking a little Bigfoot and maybe some giants or something. I think it's kind of weird when you get into certain things, how so many other things start to possibly connect, and I'm starting to see that. And not that I'm making connections or anything, just in my world and in my mind. Certain things, I'm diving into certain information, certain topics, and it'll lead me back to these giants, and then we'll be talking a little Bigfoot. But yeah, man, as of late, I'm still in California, Southern California, Los Angeles, still holding down the shop, plugging away there, and things have been good. But I've had the opportunity to do a little traveling throughout the year, which was great. I did head back up north to Humboldt County. There's a couple guys, I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's Tate Hieronymus and Ron Reed and Jonathan Easley. And those guys, Tate's from Florida. One guy's in Idaho now, and the other one's in Wisconsin, I believe. And but they do the Bigfoot thing, and they run around with some of the small town monster guys and a couple of other well-known guys in the scene. And these guys planned a Bluff Creek trip, and so we went up that way, and it was kind of it was weird because I was so close to home. I'm up in Oregon now, right? And about 3 hours north of Humboldt, where I was before. And I didn't get a chance to stop by home, man. And it was kind of weird. I wanted to, but it just didn't plan out that way. And but yeah, so we did the Bigfooting thing there, and maybe we could save a lot of that because there's some footage from there that's pretty interesting. Going back to the film site, PG Film site, and revisiting, checking it out, seeing how it is these days. And there's a few interesting moments, and maybe we could put together another show, Duke, and make it all Bigfoot and
sure. We need an update on that too. But actually, one of the reasons I brought Brown Dwarf on for this one is because he, like he's just talking about, he covers the whole thing. And I think if you're intellectually honest and you're involved in any branch of this, at some point it's liable to cross over to other things. Like in my case, when I find really heavy-duty Bigfoot hotspots, there's other cryptids around there. Even if you're not looking for them, you start catching them on camera. Well, then what do you do with that? There's other things besides Bigfoot. And then you have areas where there seems to be a crossover in Bigfoot and UFO activity. Right. And then like the old definitely haunted ghost town. We had Paranormal Portal ghost team up there twice looking at it, and
Wow.
both teams went, "Man, is this place haunted?" Plus, there's Bigfoot hanging around there. Well, then when we were up there this spring with my new research partner Johnny, first thing off the bat, we find a 31-inch track. Well, that's not a Bigfoot track. So yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like and you hear people talk about like the phenomenon, kind of like when you have Bigfoot, you have the others, and then people talk about, and then I get it. For some people, it's really hard to swallow talking Bigfoot and UFOs in the same conversation. But it seems to be a thing, because I mean, I've heard of a lot of reports. I don't know if they're real or not, but there's been a lot of interesting ones. And that's how I go. I go about my stuff, either information or things, videos, or I go about how I feel, how the vibe I get at first. And it could be that, you get the vibe at first, but later you find out maybe it's not real, or, find out other information about it. But I try to feel things out. And when I get that feeling of, yeah, this sounds pretty legit, so I just, make a note of that. And yeah, there's been a lot of those UFO or strange lights, the orbs around the Sasquatches and stuff. And I actually was having activity. So we've talked before a couple times about Bigfoot and stuff, and I'm sure we talked about the property I was staying on up in Humboldt, and some of the stuff that was going on there that I felt was Bigfoot related. And I had actually my first sighting there. But also what I was having up there was these orbs on the property. And I remember, I was just getting into all this stuff, and then I started hearing people talk about these orbs and Bigfoot and stuff like that. So I was just like, whoa, hold on. So I'm having this activity here that's possibly Bigfoot related. And then I'm starting to get these strange lights that some of these people are talking about. And I was just blown away, man. So I'm like, it's a real thing, And of course, I wasn't officially to make a connection there or anything definitive as far as them, being connected like that. It was just that they were both in the same forest, in the same area on the property. And it was just like, wow, so I was taking note of that. And I was beginning to document these orbs. And I actually sent you a clip of one, and that was on the property. And to give you an idea of what it is that we're talking about. And on the property, there's just plenty of acreage. There was no one supposed to be around there, so there shouldn't be anyone with a flashlight or anything like that. And the clip that I sent you was a really nice size one too. Also in the background, it was getting towards the evening, the sun was going down already. It was getting kind of dark, but you could see a silhouette of this big rock that was like basically our neighbor's property. Anyone could walk to it. No one would ever go there. And I could probably even say the name of the rock. It's called Jewett Rock. And that's the name of the family that owned that piece of property and stuff. And there's these two brothers, man. Wow, pretty interesting characters, straight guys from the hill. And I've heard a lot of stories, and there's some interesting dudes. One of them passed away. And anyway, so we just knew that no one would be on that rock. And a lot of times the orb would pop out on this rock, and they would pop up in several places. Sometimes it'd be one, but this one on this particular rock would pop up almost nightly. And it was just weird. It looked like a star, blue and white in color, and it would just get bright. You would see like almost the rays, like when you look at a star or the sun or something like that. And it would just bounce around and do all these funny, it looked like a wiffle ball, like under air or something. Sometimes it would just do all this weird movements, and it would dim and get bright, and it would disappear sometimes. And sometimes it'd be a bunch of them, different sizes as well. But the usual one was about the size of from my distance, and it wasn't too far. I mean, the rock and then the other parts of the property, there's other parts of the property where it'd be a lot closer to me. But the rock, I would say, as the crow flies, man, just maybe less than half a mile. And it's kind of weird because it's all land and stuff. But but it's totally visible. And I just think there's maybe something, or is it even a rock? I don't know. There were some other, and darn, I didn't actually think of, maybe I'll be able to share maybe in the community page, you could share later or something, but there was some formations on our land that were very strange looking. They looked like these big rocks, but they weren't. It looked like almost like something that was melted, it was like something zapped it almost even, and it just had this weird texture to it. And I remember, I took pictures, and we were tripping out on that, and we would find arrowheads and things like that on the land. So it was just perfect setting for Bigfoot and all this other stuff, and the skies were amazing too. So anyway, got to visit up there, and then got some orb activity in the Bluff Creek area. And of course, I'm aware of satellites and stuff, so a lot of them would question. And I hear of this an app that could tell you, or somehow your phone could tell you whether there's satellites going by.
One of my research assistants had that app, and all you have to do is aim it at the sky, and it'll tell you exactly what it is.
And the thing with that is, like, I want to learn how to use that, because I'm not sure if you're like, because these things happen like just really quick, and you know how it is, dude. You think you have a target. It just all happens so fast that I don't think I would have time to open the app, confirm that it's not a satellite, and then do the recording, right? So I just record for now and just, question it. And as of late, subscriber actually.
So where did you took the orb video on this property you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, on our old place, and you'll see in the clip, it's a nice little clip. And I think on the previous interviews, I had shown some of the orb footage that was happening there as well. There was one that I had shown. I think it was like coming down into the ridge of the hill there, and when it darted down, in the background you could hear some weird vocalizations. It sounded like, and it was just a short clip because I was actually relieving myself at the time, and I think I'm almost positive we talked about this. And so after I was done relieving myself, I was lucky to get the footage and I don't know, the video cut there, but yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I have a ton of that stuff.
Let's go ahead and show everybody that clip now then.
Cool. Not really. It's just to give you guys an idea of what these objects look like. And I backed away from the camera here a bit. I think you could only see my eyeballs before, but yeah, it was, and this was happening pretty much on the nightly basis, and I was able to get a lot of footage of this stuff, and a lot of it's on my YouTube channel. But this is if you go years back, and
did you catch the video I did last week with Iron Dogger? Because she had orb video too, and I mean, like, she is in the woods in the middle of boonfuck nowhere land, Alaska.
Oh yeah,
and it ain't a plane or a helicopter or anything. It's like in the tree line. Okay, what the hell is that?
Oh yeah, and in Alaska, you hear so much about out there. It's just, I believe a lot of the stuff, as far as even UFO activity, of course, Bigfoot, and you hear about these giants that we talk about, and so much more. It's I'd love to visit one day. And so, so heading back down, I was able to make the trip up there with the guys, spent about a week in the Bluff Creek area, which is a nice, amount of time to spend there. I wish I could have spent more. Those guys were up there for several weeks, I think maybe even a month, and some of them. So I made my way back to Southern California, and actually on the way up, I also had a strange sighting and that I recorded blindly. I was on the highway and just aimed my camera at what I thought it was an object, and did a blind recording, because I had to drive, and got this weird little footage out of there. And it was kind of like I don't know, it was a trip because I was leaving town and that happened. I'm like, wow, is this going to be even a little more wilder up north? And but yeah, we did have a few orb sightings that were pretty close, and I don't think there were satellites. And there was a lady had some interesting, I guess she said she had an encounter. She was camping with us, and so I don't know. But other than that, I guess we'll get into it when we hopefully do that show. But yeah, so heading back down to Southern California, the guys had stayed up there for another few days, and we're going to camp some spots, and they were going to make their way down to Southern California as well. And so I thought, might as well meet up with them. They weren't going to be far. And so this friend of mine, Tate, and you might know who he is. He supposedly got some thermal footage out of this area here in Southern California called the Sespe Wilderness. And this was a few years back, and he has put out a documentary on his channel, Tate Hieronymus on YouTube. You can look him up. And so we went back to do a follow-up on the thermal sighting. And so those guys were documenting, doing their stuff, and I was kind of doing my own little thing as well. And sure enough, we started to have these orbs come out too across the ridge. And these guys aren't really into that stuff, so they weren't really paying too much attention. But I was all out there and just checking this stuff out. And coming to find out, I think it's a ridge over from where we were camping. There's a well-known UFO group here in Southern California that goes there because it's apparently a hot spot. So I was like, wow, found that interesting. And I did take some footage. Some of that I shared from there, but it was more on some Bigfoot stuff when we went there. So I would love to include some of that on the next time we get together. But yeah, so a lot of these strange lights and anomalies. So coming back down here to the shop, my brother and I run a skate shop here in East Los Angeles. And there's just been a whole lot of activity outside of the shop. And when I say activity, I'm talking about these strange objects. A lot of them are orb-like. They look like stars. But
for people that are interested in this sort of stuff, just go check out his channel. Because like he'll literally be standing out in the street in front of the shop, and you can see the shop, and then he points the camera up, and he's like, "What the hell is that thing up there?"
I don't know how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My heart's racing right now. Whoa. They don't all fit on screen, so I'm just panning back and forth here. Wild. Get into the shade here. Excuse me. Oh, there's one more down here. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's not Starlink. If I'm not mistaken, Starlink, I've seen it before. Usually that's in a straight line. These are kind of not in a straight line. We got some good clips earlier. Pan back down, see. There's that one way at the end there, bottom left. And I was talking earlier how most that I have seen was 5. Hey bro, you want to see? There's a bunch of them out right now. You guys all come out and get everyone out of the store, Steve. one up there, but there was a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah, I see them.
Is it a bunch? I seen like 10 of them earlier, bro. I can't see them anymore though. Fly by there. I don't know where the rest of them went. See that? As soon as I just passed one. There's one there. And the rest of them, right? And you seen how long it took for me to just go get my brother. Crazy. Anyway, ice cream man here. Boys are out. I'll show you right now. Look, and I feel kind of silly calling my brother because I'm like, there's a bunch of them. And anyway, wow.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I'm watching S4 right now, unidentified S4, man. And I'm gonna jump in your chat and be like, yo, I just had a crazy UFO sighting, but it'd probably be kind of rude. Checking to see, we got a predator bird. They're gone, yo. I'm still tripping on that. Nowhere around. Even that one that was lingering after is gone. All right. Keep it going. Sky's the limit. Skywatch Squad. Cheers, y'all.
Yep.
And it ain't a
And
plane.
it's-
There's no running lights or anything on it. And you're like, well, you're right. What the hell is that thing?
Yeah, and a lot of them. So I'm starting to learn a lot of them. So we're getting orb type objects. There's other ones that look like balloons, and they're not balloons. There's other ones that I've gotten these strange black cube ones. There's been these jellyfish looking things, and I'm wondering if it could
Ding,
be
ding,
these
ding,
orbs.
ding, ding.
Yeah,
That's kind of what we're here to talk about. Now we got.
it's really it's really bizarre, and this I didn't really coin that term. I learned that through this UFO group that I got invited to through a good buddy of mine who actually did the floor of the shops. He's a great artist, and I hadn't seen him in years. And apparently he's all into this stuff. And so he invited me to this LA UFO channel, they're called, I believe. And they get together every month here in Los Angeles, and they'll pick a park. And some of them do C5 and other things, but everyone brings out their gadgets and cameras and stuff, and they skywatch. And sure enough, things start popping up, man. It's amazing. And so I got footage from those gatherings. And everyone's been fully cool there. And I've met other people through there and got invited to some of the Orange County gatherings as well. So that's been pretty cool. And so, yeah, I'm learning about all these different types of objects and anomalies and just the different little terms people call them. And so, yeah, these jellyfish are really bizarre. And like I said, it'll look like these orbs. And sometimes these orbs aren't perfectly round. You know, they'll kind of have a weird shape to them.
They change shape a little.
Oh yeah, they seem to
like
morph.
a living thing, not a machine.
Mm-hmm. And
let's get some backstory on this. This isn't a recent thing. If you go back and you look at a lot of these really old paintings from Europe and stuff where they have recently pointed out, hey, that's a flying saucer. It looks like some kind of a shiny disc. Okay, you know what else looks like a shiny disc? A jellyfish. So look at what they look like underwater. And some of these illustrations seem to have like tentacles or something depending from them, just like a big sea anemone or something like that, except they're depicted up above a city floating around in the sky. These people didn't know what the hell these things were. Now, there was another sighting where some people were actually out UFO watching, and there was this bright light up in the sky, and it started coming down to this pinnacle that they were standing on and got really close to them, close to the ground. And that was what they reported. It was like changing shape slightly, like it was a living thing. And it seemed to have two big chunks out of it. And they went over and got close to it, and it tried to get off the ground again, but apparently it couldn't get off the ground for some reason. And then finally, a much bigger version of the same thing came down and sort of connected onto the top of it, and then they both flew back up into the clouds again. So a bigger one came down, picked up the injured one, went back up into the clouds again. So the scary postulate here is that if they have, if they can float around like that, like they're a living balloon with tentacles on it. Oh, sea anemones, when they hit you with one of those tentacles, it paralyzes you. And if they can, if they're anything like these other jellyfish and sea anemones, they're basically transparent. So they could very easily be almost impossible to see until they're right on top of you, especially at night. And what about all the missing 411 people where it's like, oh, all of a sudden they just disappeared and there's no trail. The trail just stops. Where did they go? Well, something from above picks them up and flies off with them. There's no trail.
Right.
And if it stings them and paralyzes them, there's no screaming.
Yeah. Or, there's no scent or anything left behind and stuff like that. So, yeah, a lot of those cases I believe are some sort of UFO abduction,
Well, and I wonder how many of these things where they're seeing these aerial objects and they think it's a flying saucer, it might be one of these other things, one of these aerial animals, that are living up in the cloud layers up above us, because it's certainly possible. Look at just about every kind of animal you can think of has conquered the air. There's even flying fish. Everything is figured out how to get off the ground into the air. It's certainly possible there could be some life form that we're not completely aware of. It's living up in the upper atmosphere and just comes down to the surface to grab food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And speaking of flying fish, there's something in Catalina Island, which I went to recently. I told you I've been kind of bouncing around California. So Catalina is supposedly another UFO hotspot here in California. And also there's the legends of the giants of Catalina, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so...
and they tried to lie their little butts up and cover that up. And then some actual pictures of him digging up the skeleton standing right next to him came out. And then there was a whole lot of shut the hell up happening.
Yeah, that whole story, if you dive into the whole Catalina thing, you'll understand what Duke's talking about. And yeah, it's pretty... gets a little dark there. And and you hear about supposedly the Smithsonian, I've heard, were dumping bones off into the ocean as well around there. And so, my brother decided to put together a little family trip to head out there. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So we'll do some sky watching because we got to take a ferry boat from Long Beach, California over to the island. And that's where a lot of the, people report these USOs as well. Underwater, underwater submerged objects or unidentified submerged objects, excuse me.
Yeah.
And
today, just so everybody wonders what we're talking about here, it's UAP subclass called U.A.M. Unclassified aerial monsters. That's what we're actually talking about.
There's the new one.
Unclassified aerial
not
monsters.
New, but a new term there. New acronym.
Right. I coined it. I'm taking credit. Unclassified aerial monsters, UAM.
There you go. They say a lot of sightings happen along the way to Catalina, back and forth, in the waters there. And so, of course, I was like, man, well, we're taking the ferry boat. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled and do some sky watching. And sure enough, spotted an orb-like object. I was able to get footage, and it was just by a miracle that it happened. And I kind of did a little breakdown. So some of the videos I'll do a little breakdown where I zoom in on the object, scrub the video, and just do anything to help bring out what it is that's there. And And so yeah, that happened on the way over to the island. We get to the island, everyone's hanging out, they're doing the zip lines, and I just hung out at the beach, sky watching. And sure enough, I spotted some of these small orbs. They kind of did their thing a little bit, flew around. I wasn't able to capture any of that, but I was just like, wow. And that was it, you know. And I stayed there for several hours. But then on the way back, so let me stop there. While I was on the island, I stopped at the museum to question about those giants. And so yeah, so I go up in there.
Did they throw you out?
Here it goes.
I think it's one of those stories like when Blaine Tyler shows up at that one park up in Canada and goes into the office and starts asking him about Bigfoot, and they say there's none here. And then he shows them pictures, and then they throw him out.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I go up in there, and I asked this lady that, you know, obviously she worked there, and so I politely asked, and they told me, yeah, to get in it was like $18, which I didn't have, and it was like an hour tour or so, and so I was like, is there anything on the giants of Catalina? And she's like, all that stuff is not true. This and then she just started going off on it, and I was just like, oh wow, really? Okay. And just I was like, all right, I'm out of here. There's nothing on giants.
You save yourself $18 right there.
$18, right? Yeah. And save myself an hour. But you know, I could just totally tell there, you know, I had a weird vibe about it, and she didn't want to talk much about it either. And that was that. So yeah, so bouncing back onto the mainland.
That's looking a little weird too. We just captured another one, same area. You can see a plane going by it. That's not a plane there, I don't think. That's pretty low. How far above water you say that is? Alright, so we are pretty high up. And it's fading out. Just like the orbs we see, there's a plane going by right now. Bam, going by it.
Yeah, these objects at the shop, yeah, some of them are really strange too. I can't even describe some of them. And a lot of them tend to look like people will probably mistake them for Mylar balloons. Which they're not. And then sometimes they seem to have the tether depending on the distance of where they are from my site and stuff. But the tether is these tentacles of whatever we're calling the jellyfish is what I'm thinking.
Oh,
But
God.
there have been some that have been totally different than the jellyfish look, and it could be that it's just one of these things just maybe morphing. And then there's others where I've seen where they cluster up. There's one that it looked like a bunch of balloons. I called it a balloon cluster, or orb cluster, I think it was the title of the video. And it's just like there was blue ones and white ones, and it totally looked like balloons. But when you really look at the video, you'll know that they're not. At least not your normal balloons that we know of. And
that's the whole thing. We don't really know what's going on here, but when you start looking at it and going, okay, let's just assume, just suspension of disbelief here. Let's assume there's flying jellyfish. They produce hydrogen gas inside themselves. They're lighter than air, and they can float up like a balloon, like a hydrogen balloon. If they have normal ability, if they have the same kind of abilities that the jellyfish in the ocean exhibit, what would they be able to do? Well, they're very malleable and jello-y. Don't forget, after some of these UFO sightings, they've collected a substance on the ground they call star jelly.
Exactly. I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's some kind of jelly-like substance that seems to melt away and just dissipate after a short period of time. There's been multiple reports of that when they've seen them on the ground. Another thing is they light up. Well, obviously it has to be machine, right? No, bioluminescence. Go look at the video of some of these guys in the deep sea. They can light up if they want to. They're also kind of transparent. So if they want to sneak right up on you, you ain't going to see them until they're really close. If they ain't lit up, you're probably not even going to notice them. You just see a ripple in the sky, and then you'd be like, what's that?
Yeah.
And the other thing is with the light thing and the being able to change their shape, how do we know how big they are? I mean, maybe a baby one is the size of an orb, and that's what you're seeing floating around in the woods. They're baby ones, staying close to the ground or something, so something doesn't eat them. We just don't know. And you see the ones that it looks like an orb, but it's big. It's like the size of a car or something. It's up in the air. Okay, that's a UFO. But if it's smaller and it's down in the tree line, it's an orb. How are they different?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then just while I have this in mind, I also...
And you know this because you've seen a bunch of them too. If you get an orb on camera, they flicker, they warp their shape a little bit. Sometimes they seem like they're in two places at once, and then they come back together again, and they do all kinds of weird things that solid objects don't do.
Yeah, no, they do all types of weird stuff. Yes, that's for sure. And also, you were talking about the jellyfish, and then earlier I mentioned about the USOs. Okay, so there is, and then a lot of us are really starting to believe these days a lot of these things could be hiding underwater. These UFOs, right? So And so if jellyfish
Well,
are in the
again,
ocean,
there's
and
another
so are,
parallel. Maybe they came from the ocean originally, or maybe they breed under the water, and when they get to a certain size, they come to the surface, go float around, eat a few humans, give Dave Pilates some more reports, and then go back in the ocean again. We don't know.
but yeah, that just came to mind, man. So it's very interesting. And yeah, so a lot of these things, some of us believe also that they could possibly be biological entities themselves. So they themselves could be the object or whatever, the craft, call it whatever you want to call it, could be the actual ET entity itself.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that brings other possibilities too. That there still could be an ET inside of it, and it could be a manufactured biological entity that's made to be a living conveyance for them. That is a possibility. And then the other possibility is what we're talking about, is that there ain't nobody inside of that thing. That spaceship isn't a spaceship. It's a living critter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. And so, yeah, all these thoughts go through my head, and you know, there's been several new people that I've been introduced to, and I've been in communication with, who are having the same experiences as well, and they document a lot and share on their channels as well. And for the most part, I mean, it's been pretty positive. Like when we get together, do the gatherings, and I also mentioned, like, when I have the sightings, I haven't felt anything negative, you know, although there's been some of the crafts that do have a dark kind of feel to them. There's one, I called it the fiery red orb. And you know, I showed some people, and this one's posted as well, but some people were like, oh, well, it looks like a Chinese lantern. And I just don't think it is, just because of the way it took off, and it just starts to fade and disappear. You'll see in the video, but very interesting. And you get that, and it's like a perfect orb, and it looks like it's like pretty much on fire or something, right? And
Dodge this.
but then there's this other one that I called black and red UFO, and it's this is all happening outside of the shop, okay? And it's another object, but it's not round, has seems to have like edges to it, like it's not a perfect round orb, and it's also red and black, but more of just had a different texture to it. Just seemed more of like people would imagine a Mylar balloon, but you know, like I said, it just had edges and very strange, and just morphing and turning, like we call it acrobatic. Sometimes a friend of mine, Alejandro, it names these certain objects that he gets a lot of the times. He calls it the acrobatic ones because they tend to be like almost tumbling and doing these weird movements. And they could be doing that while they're moving or while they're
sitting in one place. Which is the thing that gets you. If it's a Mylar balloon, the wind's blowing it. Maybe it's spinning when the wind's blowing it. But if it's sitting in one frickin' place and it's doing that, how do you explain that shit?
Yeah. And what'll happen too a lot of the times is when one of these objects is either when I'm focused on one of these objects, you'll get what people I guess call flybys, and you'll see what I believe are these the same or other objects as well flying by on the camera, and then either near the object. I'd be focused on one object, and I've had multiple other objects show up. And there was one as of maybe a couple months ago. It was 10 of these orbs, dude, and it could have been more. People were telling me there was more there, but I think I counted about 10. And it wasn't Starlink. You know, they were almost kind of like in a perfect thing, but there was one particular one that were in a diamond shape. And it's not the first time I've gotten these orbs. They would be in a diamond formation. So it'd be like 1, 2, and 3, and it looked like a diamond. And then that makes me wonder too, could that be a triangle craft? And maybe part of its
lit up point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other weird thing is, you know, you're in like a massive urban area and you keep having this phenomena right above your store. Are you guys like next to a military base and on a ley line nexus point, or what the hell's going on there?
Yeah, I wonder.
And some people are going to ask now if it's because you're an alien, you're Anunnaki, and you've got a cone head.
Yeah, I got to check my blood here. But yeah, no. Okay,
he doesn't have a cone head. That's his hair. He's not Anunnaki with a cone head. He's one of the Gorgons. He's related to Medusa. That's his snakes. He's got a
man. And you know that's what they call the Rastas in Jamaica or in the Caribbean, the ones with the really big thick ones, which I have too, is the Gorgon dread. But yeah, well, so where were we?
Well, we were talking about what's so weird with that shop right there that you keep getting.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, people talk about underground tunnels under Los Angeles. People have talked about, I don't know if you've heard of the reptilians, supposedly.
Yeah, that's been going around for a long.
And I dug into that a bit, and come to find out, it was, from what I understand, was an ancient civilization of people, but they revered the reptile.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then
when new humans moved into the area, their cult quickly took over, and it's now running Hollywood. So that's why it's so weird, because reptilian cultists from, you know, underground are writing it. So that's why these plot lines and stuff don't make any sense to humans, because humans aren't writing them. Now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, yeah. And so when people talk about, oh, have I ever seen aliens or anything like that, I wonder, you know, I grew up in Hollywood, and so Hollywood, and right under Hollywood Boulevard. And I would imagine, if anything, on Hollywood Boulevard, I think. And I also think of Las Vegas Strip is probably where I've seen them, if I have.
Well, I think the Grays are running the show out there. That's really close to where, you know, Phil Schneider and all that kind of stuff is going on.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot going on out there, for sure. But yeah, so... You know, I wonder, I was like...
So you think it's underground? You think it's like there actually might be an underground something going on there and it's attracting the UFOs.
Yeah, it's possible. I think about that because I've seen some of these objects drop behind, like what seems like behind the building of the shop, and it could be at a distance, but they're dropping down, and then I don't see where they're going after that, you know? So I'm like, where are they going? And then I have heard of, you know, objects going into mountains, going into volcanoes, going into all types of weird, solid things that they're able
things
to.
That maybe aren't so solid, like the last show where we had the Giant's door in Oregon, and it's like, well, that really looks like a giant door on the side of a mountain right there. You know?
Yeah. So, you know, it's just so many thoughts and theories and all this stuff, and it's just fun kicking it around. But it is exciting when the thing happens, and like I said, it's been on a daily basis as long as the skies are clear. Even usually when there's some cloud, or what I've noticed also is that they've been spraying a whole lot here, you know, and it's been going on a long time, but you just see the activity in the air with these planes spraying this stuff that are not clouds, and people are thinking these things are clouds, but they're not. And so I wonder if that has anything to do with anything, because I also have a friend of mine who covers this exact topic I'm talking about, and he has footage and shown me pictures of these orbs that were spraying something. And yeah. And so he kind of has a bad feeling about them sometimes. I don't think he's like all, you know, the peace and love with these objects like a lot of us are. And he's friends with you know, there's one girl in particular, Shelly's UFOs on YouTube. She's awesome. And she just attracts these things, it seems like. And so she has a real positive, uplifting vibe about her and her connection. But then, like I say, you know, our other buddy just, I don't know, he feels kind of different. And it could be, you know, I do feel that there is these negative and positive ones. And just, we're in a world of duality. So there's always the good and the bad, yin and yang and all that. And so, yeah, it could be that some of these objects are good and some are not good. But yeah,
I take the standpoint of old Stone Cold Steve Austin, who says, trust no one.
Yeah, man. And so, yeah, you know, I'm very aware, you know, of you know, things that people claim and report and stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully I don't get 411 or anything like that. And if I do,
stay away from those friggin' sky jellyfish, man.
Right.
You're not, or start carrying a lot of rocks around in your pocket. You're not very heavy.
And if I do, hopefully it's the good ones, man. But yeah, very, very trippy stuff. There's another one that I hope you're able to share, and I titled it Bizarre UFO, I think it was. And it was just, it seemed like a cluster. Once again, it looks like sometimes, I don't know if it's these orbs that are bunching up together, but this thing was just like, I can't even describe the shape, but it was just like morphing, and it had a tail and it was spinning. And at some points you would see what looked to me, it looked like just four orbs that looked like a UFO, but you know, within the movement, it would just spin out this tail again, and it's just like appearing and disappearing. It's just really bizarre, far out stuff. And so, yeah, you know, it's just like what's going on there. And it just seems like energy. It does seem like energy because it looks like almost like, because the sun is out most of the time. A lot of this footage is during the day. And there is footage that is hard to tell because the objects could be really far. But on the ones that are really close, you're able to really pick up on what looks like the energy. You know, it looks like almost electricity or something like that, or some sort of.
That's another thing for some of the people to think this is all just like lights in the sky at night. No. People are getting video of this stuff during the day.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to be more active during the day, although I have gotten some nighttime stuff in the area there, but I haven't done it overnight or anything like that. But I should be getting one of these Psionics night vision cameras here.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah, this week.
Like I said, make sure to wear your deep sea dive in lead boots and fill your pockets with rocks so that the sky jellyfish don't run off with you somewhere.
Oh yeah, and yeah, and some of the people have noticed in the neighborhood. There's several people that I've talked to that have witnessed things themselves. There's one gentleman who said that one time it was him and a group of guys hanging out on the street there, and that one of these objects came like completely down to the ground and then just shot off. And he's speaks Spanish, so I'm able to understand him. But I could only get so far with him. I try to. He did share.
What did he say? Something about Casa de Pepe or I don't.
Yeah. And so some people have seen some stuff, but there's been times where I've pointed things out to people because they're asking, "What am I looking at? Why am I looking up?" and stuff like that. And I'll be like, "Well, look at that. Doesn't that look a little odd or weird?" And they tripped out on it. And I know there's several other people in the scene. Cali has, I'm sure, a big scene, but I've only been exposed to so many people. And then there's people on the mainstream that you hear about that I don't really associate with or don't know, but I hear about them and they're on some far out stuff. But I don't know, just to be having it happen firsthand is pretty cool. And like I said, it's nothing new. I've been dealing with these type of strange lights for several years now, but it just seems like it has ramped up, or I just found a little mine here, because a lot of the activity seems to happen here. Because when I come home, a couple things have happened here, but it's not like over there.
Right.
And that's just 15 minutes away, so I'm not far at all.
Interesting.
And so I think there is something to that area. I heard Cheryl Costa was on SOR recently, just a few days ago. I think you might have been there that night. And she was talking about how she felt like some of these objects were focusing on like polluted areas and stuff like that. And what came to mind is that actually where we're at is an unincorporated part of Los Angeles, and right around there is a bunch of warehouses. And I actually heard about like some sort of warehouse that used to be there that might have polluted a lot of the area too. And so the community was fighting for like them to clean the stuff up. And this is going like years back. And then
you got video of these orbs putting out some kind of an aerosol, like their chemtrail or something.
And then it
could just be orb farts. You never know what.
There you go. And some people are waiting for Bigfoot to fart out an orb too. So
there you go, folks. An all new thing, orb farts. No, it's been filmed.
Yeah. So, but then I mentioned the spraying also that's been going on, and Yeah, so I feel like, all right, it's polluted as hell here. The air quality is terrible out here. So all that comes to mind when like I said, Cheryl Costa mentioned the polluted places and stuff like that, because I don't know, it could be something there. Another place that I went to recently out here was Malibu, and I don't know if you've heard about Malibu having some sort of alien base off the coast. And
I've heard that. Isn't that where the giant underground goes underneath the continental shelf there with like Jimmy Church has pointed that out a few times.
Exactly. So that's who I heard, and I had already heard about this stuff out there before, but there was one particular night that I was listening to Jimmy, and he mentioned about going, there's a particular highway from where he's at that'll lead you right to Malibu. And I come up the another way actually from Los Angeles. And so he talked about, and that particular night that I heard that, I'm like, dude, you know what? Let's go. And
have you seen the pictures of that? Because they've got the sonar pictures of what that looks like. And like, you could drive 10 giant submarines on top of each other into that thing.
Yep.
And God knows how far it goes. But apparently there's like a Navy base in like Nevada or something, which is kind of a long ways from the coast. And if you go in there, it's got really deep undergrounds. And it probably goes down to where they can sail in from the coast. Yeah.
Yep. And so that particular night, I told my brother, let's close up the shop, close up, and let's head to Malibu and do some sky watching. We went, and sure enough, we're sitting there, and beautiful night, moon shining, waves are crashing, and these orange orbs start to pop out of the, like, it looks like the water, but off at a distance. You can't really see, you know. And I'm pretty sure they weren't, you know, fishing boats or anything like that. Some of them were floating up into the sky and they would disappear. And then some would just kind of cruise around, and you could see like planes in the background, and they were like different from these objects and stuff. And so there's a little clip of that I sent you. And
Dodge this.
Yeah, so Malibu, and not too far from Malibu is, you know, you got the Channel Islands, Catalina Islands, where all this other stuff's happening. And then on the mainland, you have, you know, areas like we're talking about, the shop, and even on up into the mountains here. And the mountains aren't too far at all.
Are you trying to remember where it is exactly that they've got the old legend of the Watchers in the mountains?
Yeah,
They'll just see their silhouette of a giant figure on the mountain, like watching them, and it's probably not Bigfoot, you know, because like giant size, and then they'll just like disappear, and people will be like,
"Yep." And you know what? I don't know exactly where that's at, but I have heard of it. I want to say it's more in Central California. I think up maybe towards Fresno or something like that. But I've heard of them, and that's pretty creepy. That's
yeah. And that goes way back, too, all the way back to the natives. Yeah, we've been spotting those weird things standing on the mountains watching us for centuries.
Yep. And, you know, Jimmy actually lives by a base. And then I believe it's, what is it? Is it Skunk Works that's out his way, too?
Yeah.
And then, and so I'm aware of these, like, these companies or whatever you want to call them. You know, there's Raytheon as well, and they're here. They're here in Los Angeles. They got a building out by the airport, I think. And so I hear of like them supposedly, you know, having some of these crafts or having the technology to have some of these types of crafts. And so I do question, you know, are they out there, you know, testing their stuff? Is this art stuff? Is it like hybrid with ET and, you know, our technology? Is it fully ET? You know, I don't know, you know, so I question it, but I do feel like some of this stuff is ET because just because I've had certain things happen in my life where I feel like could be connected to this, and I'm talking like dreams and just certain things that have happened. And I've also noticed that these things obviously have a connection with consciousness. I mean, you got to be conscious to be able to be seeing these things.
And here's the other weird thing with some of these protocols where people have figured out ways that you can like psychically contact them, get them to come down and stuff. Mm-hmm. What are they contacting?
Yeah.
Are there aliens getting out of those things, or are they contacting sky jellyfish?
And then I feel, you know, I've tried some because I've learned about the CE5 technique, which I do sometimes. And sometimes even without doing that, these things will appear, you know, and I've tried the CE5 sometimes when it's kind of slow and I feel like, oh man, is there anything going to happen today? I'll do a little meditation, take some breaths and, you know, think some thoughts. And they'll appear after that. And then there's been times too that I've gotten on I've been able to capture too, is where I'll, you know, be recording one of these things and I'll try to like communicate with my mind and I'll ask it things, you know, I've asked them to come down closer or to, is anyone else there? Could anyone show up? And then we've gotten the flybys, right as I'm asking, or maybe seconds or maybe a couple minutes after, I'll request, I've noticed that'll happen. So I'm like, is it able to read my mind? Is
Yeah.
communicating?
Well, that's the other thing. A bunch of people have noticed that, and it's been reported over and over and over again. Saw this weird thing, looked like a UFO. Started watching it. All of a sudden, it went, whoosh, and it was like right over where I was watching me. Well, how the hell can they see a teeny little human like 5 miles away, maybe in the woods or something, watching them? How the hell do they know you're there? And then they're like, they're right there.
Yep. Yeah, and that stuff I would do also back when I was having it up in the mountains, when I've seen these objects, and I would do a lot of, because I was by myself. It'd be late at night, 2, 3 in the morning,
right,
out in the woods. There's no one really to talk to anyway. Wifey's asleep, and I would.
Well, you can talk to
there.
Bigfoot. I mean, geez,
Oh man. And so I think there's something there definitely that they're able to either communicate, and then there's people that claim that they've been taken and all that. So I wonder about it. There's been people claiming that they've been able to fly some of these craft, and so that it makes you wonder if that's separate from what, like you're saying, these monsters or whatever, these creatures. It's
well, there's no doubt that there could be more than one thing going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing on the ground. Everybody's like, oh, there's a cryptid in the woods. It's Bigfoot. Yes, Bigfoot's in the woods. There's other cryptids in the woods besides Bigfoot. And almost every single one of them is more dangerous.
And another thing is that, during, and I agree with that, during some of these flybys, we've been noticing is that there is a saucer-shaped object, and this object doesn't stay still, and it'll be all over the place. And it's more of a darker object. Like I said, it has a saucer shape, and it tends to even almost have like a little tail type thing, and it's not a wing of an insect, and it's just really bizarre looking. That's more of what people would expect when you say UFO or something like that. But like I say, these objects are zipping around while these other sky jellyfish and these orbs and all these other strange objects are present.
Well, here's another one thing that might be potentially some form of aerial life that we haven't really cataloged yet. And that is the, what do you call them?
Not the rods.
Rods, exactly. Yep. One of my friends up in Alaska, his security camera kept going off at night and filming something. It was something was setting off the security camera. Mm-hmm. And it films both in infrared and in regular light. So he got infrared video. What was setting it off was an orb. It comes up from the ground, and it does this little close loop, and then it stops in midair. And then it goes back this way, and then it zooms off this way really fast. So he's looking at it, and he's enhancing it so you can see it, and it's like, it's a solid object. That's what's setting off this motion detector. You could see a reflection off it from the camera. There's a solid object there. Well, here's the cool thing. If you slow it down and look at it closely, right as it turns and it starts to take off really fast, 2 of those shoot past it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what the trippy that's a trip. I was just kind of shooting in the dark there, and for some reason I was like, maybe he's talking about rods.
That's exactly
And
what it was. And don't forget our buddy Bigfoot in Germany, Robert Boston. He started realizing that the Bigfoot were moving so fast that he wasn't catching them with the slow frame rate on his camera. So he kicked the frame rate way up, and then guess what he started capturing? Rods flying through.
Oh wow, trip out. Yeah, and I haven't heard too many people talk about the rods. The rods, I remember hearing about those when I was younger, when I was maybe in my teens, and since then I haven't heard much about them. That's interesting. I'd like to see. Does he have any footage or anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is up on his channel. I can send you
Okay,
a
cool.
link.
Yeah, you'll have to give me a link to that because I haven't seen anything for years about that. And I know some
He
people.
didn't point that out so much because he was really freaked out about the orb that kept setting his camera off over for about 3 hours. But then when he looked at the one that he's got really good, like I said, it comes up from the ground, kind of meanders around, and you can see other objects are shooting away from the camera at this one angle. So like maybe the wind's blowing debris or something. It goes directly against the wind and sits there and pauses in midair for a second. And then it shoots off in the same direction the wind's going. Well, he slowed it down to take a look at it. And when it shoots off in the same direction as the wind, there's two of them. One goes past it first and it starts to take off. The other goes, shoots past it as it's taking off.
Wow.
So, yeah, again, these are like, what are these things? Is it some kind of a life form or something? And again, with these other things, life forms probably, because it's too little to be a friggin' spaceship. It's only like that big,
Right. And you know what? I want to point out something else, Duke, is that I have took a notice that outside of the shop there's a lot of military activity in the air. So I don't know if it's because you mentioned bases earlier, and forgive me for not knowing the bases, but I know there's one by Jimmy's, which is behind the mountains there.
Yeah, I know Jimmy's announced that before. I can't think of the name of it. I don't know the local military bases down there.
Yeah,
But again, this makes sense, though, because if there's something that they're doing there that, of course, they're not telling us about, maybe other people do know they're doing it, and they're there spying on them because they want to keep an eye on what they're up to.
Hey, it's very, very possible. And so what I've noticed is that a lot of helicopters fly over the shop there. And there has been, I think, I sent you a really weird one, a clip of, I don't know what kind of helicopter it is, but it is military. And it's flying right above the shop. And at the tail end of the helicopter, this silver, it wasn't a round orb, but it's one of these weird objects, just kind of flew behind the tail there. And it's not the first time I've seen these objects around the helicopters. And I see them around the commercial planes too. There's a lot of, because LAX is not too far. I mean, we're on the east side, but a lot of LAX's traffic goes over the shop.
Right.
And around the shop, around there. So I see all the traffic, all the air flights coming in.
Well, if you're on a flight path, that's even less likely that you're going to have drones or balloons or any of that crap randomly flying over you, because they keep all that shit out of the way of flight paths so planes don't collide with it.
Right. And I could show you several clips. I don't know if I sent one of actually when they're near planes or them flying by planes.
Well, you can always send that when we get done recording, so I can put it in here.
Okay, perfect. And then all that stuff is definitely on the channel. And I try to just post as soon as fresh stuff. As soon as stuff happens, I try to get it up there. And for I don't know, people to look and to see if they're having activity in their areas, and just to kick it around the community and see what's going on in your areas as well. Are you having this type of activity? And
we just had a giant orb or small UFO sighting here in Montana yesterday, and two different people filmed it from different angles. Don't know each other. They're about a mile apart. This blue glowing orb-looking UFO over Montana.
Wow.
So this stuff's happening all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think it's been happening for a very long time. But people ask, you think it's ramping? I think it is ramping, at least for me in this area. It seems like So yeah, it's definitely happening, and so I recommend people to take a look up and yeah, have your camera ready.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about running out of time here. Was there anything else you wanted to reference or show?
Well, I mean, man, we could do a round 2 of this too. There's so much more.
Well, we got to do a Bigfoot show next, so
for sure.
Try and cover all the sky jellyfish you can think of right now.
Yeah. So I sent you several clips, and we'll see what you put together. And if anyone has a question about anything, yeah, let Duke know, let me know, and I'd be happy to get back to you.
Yeah, and again, if you got video of something like this, or you had some kind of an interesting sighting that relates to what we're talking about, get a hold of Brown Dwarf, or if you can't figure out how to do that, get a hold of me and I'll get a hold of them. And what we need to do is share this kind of information to the people that are actually doing the hard research on it. And Brown Dwarf is just trying to cover all bases out there where he's at. He's good at finding Bigfoot evidence. He's good at getting UFOs on video. He's probably got cryptids falling around the woods every time he's out there and just doesn't realize it.
Oh yeah, I love it, Duke. I love it, and yeah, we're gonna keep at it here, man. There's several things I still got lined up, and I'm just working with the budget that I got. Gas has been rough, and
yeah,
you know how it is, Duke.
It's ridiculous. Might as well be liquefied gold what they're charging you for it.
Oh man, but we make it happen. And so yeah, stay tuned, everyone. I appreciate it, Duke. Yeah, man. Anytime, let me know if there's any pictures or videos you need to check out. Let me know, and I'd happily get those to you.
Right. Well, just send along whatever you want for this episode, whatever you reference that you think people would like to see the visual thing.
Yeah.
Send those along. I'll slot them all in there.
Oh yeah, and yeah, really quick. We also did a quick trip towards the Joshua Tree area. And we went out to Giant Rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there's some giant
Isn't that,
stuff.
What, George Adamski, or who was it that was out there?
I forget. Yeah, but the story is interesting about that spot. And yeah, very cool place, very active as well. And it just makes me, not too far from there is eventually Nevada. You get into Arizona, Nevada, and all that. So I'm sure there's some mountain giants roaming around these areas here too, man.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I heard that the Superstition Mountains are a good place to avoid going on hikes. Somebody that saw a 15-foot giant out there that's never going back there said so.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, well, just the name alone would be...
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of people that just disappear in the Superstition Mountains.
I've heard.
Yeah. So maybe not the best place to go for day hikes. You might not be coming back again. All right. Did we have anything else we wanted to cover? I think
not at the moment, but I'm sure once we hang up, I'll be like, "Oh, this."
Yeah. Take notes for the next one. We'll try.
Yeah,
and have
I did. I could kind of
no.
see him from here, but no, I think we kind of covered a nice little portion of this mysterious topic, and there's so much more to get into, man. And yeah, just hit me up anytime, Duke. I thank everyone for tapping in, and you guys have a blessed rest of your evening.
Right on. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for all of your information and all your hard work on this. And we'll have you back after the first of the year. And we need to do a Bigfoot show too, because you get enough stuff on that. Really, I should have you on my show a couple times a year to cover different subjects, because you're out there doing and getting stuff all the time. And for everybody else, if you don't already know it, I have a show on Thursdays. Now, because Dave Scott has let me share my cryptid reports that I do every Tuesday night during the third hour of the show on Spaced Out Radio. So that is repeated on my channel. If you missed the announcement at the beginning, check it out every Thursday at 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain Time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern, 10 Newfoundland, 11 in Iceland. I don't know what the hell the time zone is.
And I'm usually hanging out with Duke over at Spaced Out Radio, so if you ever want to say what's up, come check us out there.
Yeah, we're the late nighters, and it's always fun. He's got a great chat room in there. Really nice people, very knowledgeable. They're all really into these subjects. A hell of a lot of them have their own channels, and they're good. And speaking of people with their own channels, big shout out to somebody that lets me live rent free in their head and likes to put out evil propaganda on me. And I'm not going to put out his real name, but his channel is something like Mr. Fluffy 69. But anyway, thanks a lot for letting me live rent free in your head and giving me lots of free press. And, your boss down there at the cinematic area where they do all the filming where you work says you are by far the best person he has on the staff as far as fluffers go. So keep up the good work, Mr. Fluffy 69. But until next time, love you guys. Everybody take care, and I'll see you all next week. Make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.